Prepare the faggots. My little joke.
Move the Needle is just a knockoff of one of the side goals of Comic Liberty back in 2015, which was to support good comics and good creators. But with Move the Needle these days, you buy a recommended comic, a comic that gets recommended from someone, I guess Diversity in Comics or whoever, then you tweet about it with a hashtag and a picture of the comic you bought or the comics, and then tag the creators of the comics and who knows what else, just all this shit.
You tag it with the hashtag move the needle. See, I could
Really
see
not
that
gonna work.
working if the industry wasn't already so dead, if it wasn't so corrupt
Yeah,
that
if it
they have
wasn't, well, if it,
infiltrated
yeah, if it
every
wasn't a
avenue.
fucking carcass that
The
instead of,
literal cancer. The cancer has taken over the host.
yeah, the social justice, isn't infiltrating comics. Social justice are just the vultures feeding off the corpse of comics. It's pretty much already over. Um, I figured, we should start off by saying that it would be nice if Comicsgate and Move the Needle would succeed in making the industry healthier, if it would, put enough band-aids on the corpse that the corpse would suddenly get up and start to shambling around,
So it would jump up and start dancing around
dancing
like
to
like a horrible freak show. See the dancing freak. Only $5.
well, only 4.99. Well, that's not too much of a ripoff. Hey, that's a really good price. Um, anyways, the problem with making the industry healthier with this whole Comicsgate, Move the Needle, whatever, is that they're not going to. And the reason why, there's a lot of reasons why. One of them is the people involved in Comicsgate are really oblivious about the very industry that they're trying to help. Through their own words, they don't really even understand how the market crashed. They don't really understand the quality of the content. They don't
So
understand.
it's a big mystery, even though everyone knows.
Yeah, it's been obvious for a long time, but for some reason, you listen to them, and it's either a mystery or they have these answers that are so obviously wrong, where it's like, for some reason, the 90s were a great era for comics, when everyone knows, in comics or out of comics, everyone knows that the 90s were the era that the speculator market bubble grew and exploded almost instantly, and Marvel went bankrupt as a result. So, and another thing is, so they don't understand most of the shit, and they also don't understand where the modern young comics readers actually went, and why those who left are not going to come back. Um, and that's those are just scratching the surface. One of the main reasons why Comicsgate itself isn't going to work and it's not going to really do anything that substantive is because it doesn't have that sort of weaponized autism like Gamergate had. So there's no digging. There's no digging at all. The most digging you see is somebody went on Twitter and saw that one of these social justice people said something crazy. That's it. In Gamergate, they were fucking digging so deep they were coming up with all this documentation of like
They're
really,
finding secrets that they never thought they would find.
yeah, like Silver String Media having connections to Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn, and having like taxpayer funding, and even you could practically trace it to fucking Obama. It was really bizarre. But and like PBS and a lot of media outlets being all connected, and then the Games Journos Pros mailing list where games journalists were all deciding what news to report, to the point where it was so fucking obvious and so damaging that I think even Zoe Quinn said, "That's not collusion. That's just intercommunication," or just something a really pathetic excuse." And it's like, well, they're caught now. Nothing like that
It's
has
something
happened.
that, when admitted to, makes it sound worse.
Yeah,
But of course, people don't care because, like, oh, you hate women, and the normal scum fall for it.
yeah, like the Twitter normies. But or people who actually watch the Colbert Report.
The
Report.
Faley shit with John Stupid.
John Circle stupid. He's guilty of making circular arguments. That's that's a little obscure. That's an obscure Patrice O'Neill reference right there. It's a way too obscure Patrice O'Neill reference.
Brilliant,
Yeah,
obscure.
that's you know what, brilliant if I don't mind saying. Just very genius. So yeah, there's none of the digging that Gamergate was doing. Not even a hint of it. And it could be done. It could be done really easily. Like a lot of collusion and connections could easily be made and documented. And sometimes they seem to come across the connections by accident. Um, Most of it is just a lot of bitching about cape shit, though. So they get very easily distracted by the sideshows and the fucking distractions, the rules for radicals tactics being used against them. Comicsgate is just being fucking led around by the nose. Um. And what's? Oh yeah, uh, one of the other really almost baffling fucking fuck ups of Comicsgate is that they are still funding and supporting those social justice creators who are guilty of censorship and harassment of fans and other creators and creating echo chambers and groupthink and all that shit. And getting into positions in the industry where they can decide what comics will be allowed to be made. Comicsgate is openly just supporting these people, not just the companies they work for, but the people. But they're also, supporting the companies that they work for. And really, Comicsgate supporting this makes their criticism of social justice. It just turns it into empty, meaningless whining. Really doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot when they're like, oh, these guys are creating this ideological echo chamber, but I'm gonna still buy their comics. I'm still gonna buy comics from Marvel. Marvel employees have been calling me a Nazi and Hitler, but I really like this one comic by them. You should buy this. And again, that's
They're
what.
like a they're like an abused wife.
Yeah, exactly. Except even more pathetic, because at least the abused wife, she can fall back on her thirst. The inherent thirst is part of the reason.
A very real thirst.
The thirst for the dark triad traits and bad boy behavior. What is the excuse that Comicsgate has for moving the needle for a lot of these people? Diversity Comics actually did a move the needle recommendation for a fucking, I forget if it was even Dan Slott or Mark Waid. I really don't care. There's no difference to me. But it was like one of the guys who is either calling you a Nazi or trying to instigate a fight with you at a fucking convention, trying to get you named and shamed within the industry. One of the reasons why you're radioactive in the industry, and you're still going to tell your viewers to go buy his books and hashtag it to make it look like, hey, we're helping your sales too. I mean,
it's why Cape Cuck is such a perfect description, a perfect insult to describe them.
Yeah, because that's really what they are. They're completely
They're allowing themselves to get bitched. They are the bitches in the They are the girl in the relationship.
Yes, which is the worst thing you can be.
The worst thing of all.
It's for sure bad. But yeah, so and comics with Gamergate, it didn't really effectively stand against social justice openly, which is one of the reasons why Mr. Medicare said that he abandoned Gamergate, which I think is pretty valid. But at least Gamergate talked about refusing to buy social justice games. They took names in the game industry. There's Deep Freeze It. And
they did more, and this is also video games that haven't been nearly as taken over.
Yeah,
it hasn't been nearly as infested with the pause.
Video games are a much bigger industry, of course. So it's
way bigger.
Healthier.
Holy fuck! Way bigger, more popular, more beloved. There's so many people out there who want to make video games compared to fucking comics. Nobody really wants to make comics.
Except just, suckers like us sometimes.
Yeah, or, there are people who love the medium.
Or the dopes. Sometimes the dopes. People who love the medium and the dopes.
And then there are people who love the product.
Yeah.
And diversity in comics is somebody who wants the product.
Yeah,
He
he wants the
wants the
corporate
shit.
product.
He wants diarrhea squeezed into his mouth and then tell them he wants more. And then they say, fuck you, racist Nazi. And he's like, yes, please. He's like that fucking character in the fucking anime, the girl knight, who's like, it is the duty of a female knight to fall victim to a lewd, disgraceful end from the Demon King. That is him.
No, because she has more dignity than him.
Oh
Oh
shit.
shit. Holy shit. Oh no, is he being roasted? I sure hope he's not being roasted.
He's being roasted. He's a fucking girl who wants to get fucked. He wants to be made ass pregnant with comics fucking demon children.
Comics jizz. He wants to be made empreg. Female empreg. He wants to put on a dress and be thrown into the shower room in demon prison. Why does he want that? Why does Diversity in Comics want that? I don't know. But personally, I disapprove of his lifestyle.
I disapprove of his lifestyle. It has no business in the place of the comics business.
It has no place in a house of learning. But yeah, with at least with Gamergate, they were, you'll still see them say, "Here's this social justice-y person. They're doing this bad behavior. Therefore, we're going to take notice and actually do something about it." In Comicsgate, though, those same people, their bad behavior, all it gets is, "Oh, we're going to buy your comic, but we might review it negatively. Oh, wait, no, I ended up liking it. I bought it because I wanted to roast it, but I ended up really liking it."
He'll tell everybody how he thought it was so cool. The way that the generic fucking pitiful action schlock fucking occurred. The childish, annoying action.
Well, it's second-rate art, and then it's in service of essentially a fanfic with grade school level writing. That's really what superhero comics are. Now, there's comic books out there that are fucking great, and Diversity in Comics hasn't talked about them, and he hasn't tried to move the needle on those either.
He refuses to read them, and he gives excuses for why he doesn't read them.
Really lame excuses, too. It's actually embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for him, the excuses that he gives. They're really, really stupid. They're about as stupid as his taste in movies. Which, people act like, oh, your taste in movies is so bad, you should stick to comics. His taste in comics isn't that much better. It's hit and miss at best. It's not really an upgrade. Mostly, it's stuff that if it's any good, any idiot could tell it's good. But if it's bad, he tends to like it sometimes. And then sometimes he doesn't seem that committal about if they're bad or not. Like the fucking Catwoman movie. He doesn't really seem to condemn that movie very much.
Did he actually say positive things about the fucking Catwoman movie?
No, he said it was bad, but he didn't really say why it was bad, which most likely means that he actually liked it. He just doesn't want to admit it. I mean, but that's just an assumption. The rest of this is verified fact. So what do you think about that? Fuckface. But,
faggot. Prepare the faggots.
Let's prepare the faggots.
Wait, we already have some. They're called Diversity in Comics.
Whoa. Although, really, a lot of the other people with him in the Comicsgate YouTube community, comics YouTube, whatever the fuck, they're just as bad, maybe worse. I mean, Diversity in Comics says some funny stuff and astute things on occasion. The other guys are like Linkara. Just not Linkara except, just they're like Linkara. Especially Captain Comics. He's pretty much Linkara version 1.3. It's actually kind of painful. I tried watching some of his videos. They're fucking agonizing because they're really stupid. They're not very smart observations about comics. They're stuff that not only was obvious years ago, if it's stuff about social justice, it's like, yeah, this was obvious years ago. He's just coming to these conclusions. He's acting like he's just discovering that's like social justice is starting to get into comics. And it's like, no, that was in 2015. Social justice started having already overtaken the majority of other comics creators. Now in 2016 and 2017, and now it's 2018, It's already way, way past started. Now it's too late to do anything about it, and Captain Cummings is gonna sit there with his fucking dumbass hat and his and mispronouncing half the words that that comes out of his dumb fucking mouth, and he's gonna be like, social justice is starting to become a problem in comics. And
Starting to become.
yeah,
Starting.
and again, in comics, when they talk about the problems in comics, they're not really talking about the problems in comics. They're talking about the problems in superhero comics, which is just a niche of a niche. It's really superhero comics are the actual comics themselves are actually pretty insignificant. They're some of the lowest sellers, and compared to worldwide, if you went according to worldwide sales, superhero comics technically don't even exist. We're not talking about fucking technically zero sales. We're talking about technically never happened.
It never happened. Today's history.
Today's history. You compare them to like even a low selling manga is like fucking in just somewhat below a million. I don't know if that's per week or per month, but in American comics, we're not even talking about a million per year, so that doesn't fucking matter. And that's that's superhero comics, and most people in America see comics as superhero comics, and that's also part of the problem. And Comicsgate is not going to do anything to rectify that or help that because most of them are just cape cucks who worship this dumb superhero shit. So they're not going to say, "Hey, here's
cupcakes.
Here's other genres that are just as deserving of your time. We need to support those creators. We need to support those titles. We need to support this, and we need to support that." Instead, no, it's just the same old focus on superheroes, and which leads to the next point is, well, actually, yeah, well, what Comicsgate does is they buy those social justice comics that they complain about, they review them negatively sometimes, and then they keep buying them. And then, worst of all, they take the social justice creators and say, "You're doing this good book. I really like it now," even though it's blindingly obvious that the new good book in question is actually still terrible. Like, fucking Dan Slott and Spider-Man. He's making these shitty Spider-Man comics. They're really not good. People who love superhero comics will tell you up and down that Dan Slott is actually a really good writer. And it's like, you gotta fucking do way better than that to convince me of that.
And they'll fucking gush constantly. It's like, oh, look how awesome this is. Just yawn-inducing tripe.
Yeah, it's just the same old superhero shit. It's not anything
You'd almost
unique
think that they're trying to prove it to themselves more.
It really points to something even deeper, where about people who, like, say you grew up watching Rescue Rangers, and then it's 20 years later and you're still watching Rescue Rangers because you insist that there's never been anything better, or that it's just the most
nothing
dope.
Else. You never watch anything else at all.
Yeah, or say, at least if you say, if you just watch nothing but Disney cartoons and Disney movies, and you just talk about your entire life becomes Disney cartoons and Disney movies, it's like, there's other stuff out there. And it's like, oh, I know there's other stuff. There's Gods of Egypt. That was a great movie. No.
Ugh.
Yeah, so
and then it just makes you feel bad for them, but also worry for them a little.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what superhero comics fans are today. They're people who kind of got stuck on superhero comics and never got past it. And so too many of the Comicsgate people are just completely cuffed by the cape shit that they love so much, and that makes them weak. People who like cape shit are like that dipshit in high school who told you how much Korn or Limp Bizkit had an impact on his life. Ugh.
Haha, wait, do people really do that?
Well, they do the equivalent of it, which is talk about how superhero comics are so relevant and important and interesting and dope and all that other shit.
I was just thinking about the fucking Limp Bizkit and fucking Happy Days theme, and how
I mean, that wonderful mashup.
Our sister would at least like one of those songs.
Oh, that's sad. But anyways,
yes.
There's one other claim too in the Comicsgate, which is again, a lot of this is made by Diverging Comics because his channel is pretty much the only one I watch regularly, and I've tried watching all the others, and they're not interesting, and they don't say anything new that Diverging Comics doesn't say himself. Really, none of them are saying anything new. Not even he is saying anything new. Pretty much half the stuff he says was already said a few years ago by maybe one other comics blog. But that comics blog is so ahead of its time, people don't really know anything about it, and it's gone now. Fucking Marvel employees actually personally called in a favor to the web host to have it deleted, just because it was making fun of them.
They went further to get rid of that certain blog way more than anyone's ever tried to do to Diversity in Comics.
Yeah, Diversity in Comics has had it easy. He has not seen anything like what people Marvel employees, but just people in general, and I mean Boom employees and that kind of shit too. I think IDW, who were able to essentially have a comics criticism blog completely erased from the internet by just calling in a favor, not phone calling, but essentially contacting administrators and being like, hey, we're popular comics makers, and we want you to get rid of this blog because it's making fun of us. It's harassing us.
And of course, all the usual typical excuses: sexism, racism.
Yeah, all the stuff that they're hitting. Yeah, all the stuff that they're hitting Diversity in Comics with today. It's just the same old social justice tactic. In fact, a lot of them are the same people, but then a couple of years later,
he's going in and saying, well, we should support his comics when they're less shitty, or when he doesn't shoehorn in his horrible politics that should get him destroyed, just removed completely from the industry.
Diversity in Comics, I listened to one of his videos from a couple days ago, and he was practically jizzing himself at the idea that Marvel was going back to normal. It's like, so it's just reverting. It's
and that lasted for only a couple of hours. He only jizzed himself for a couple of hours before that turned around.
Yeah, and then the next day it was like, oh, Marvel messed up, and it's like, yeah, no shit. I even left a comment saying, I'll believe it when I see it. It's not gonna. There's no reason to get excited because you said the exact same thing about this when Marvel announced their Marvel Legacy last year. And he was completely jizzing himself in glee. He couldn't fucking believe how great things were going to be now that Marvel was announcing Legacy, and then it's like, oh, it's just more social justice. And I knew
it's worse. It's worse than ever.
Yeah. Well, I would say actually just on par. The thing is, going back to what Marvel was a few years ago isn't going to be any good. It's not going to bring anyone back because the people who already left, they left not because of social justice, but because superhero comics are not relevant. The superhero movies are actually relevant in ways that the comics are not relevant at all. And that's pretty obvious from anyone who's even watched the movies compared to the comics. There's another claim.
One thing though that I have to say that makes this whole thing really sad is just the tactic of having to no platform. They're no platforming people. The only way that you can properly teach them not to do that is to do it to themselves. To ultimately teach them that they shouldn't be doing that. Because they don't understand why it's wrong, and they'll keep doing it. They will keep doing it. They're going to do it forever if you don't show them that it's actually a bad thing. They don't understand. They're like children.
You have to explain it to them as if they were a child.
And the best way to do that to them is to fucking do it to them first. Fucking no platform them, report them for hate speech, report them for all the shit they complain about so that they get shut down. They might get a little taste. They probably won't fully understand because they're very dumb. But at the very least, they'll have a better inkling. It's kind of like when you fucking troll somebody and they get really angry, but then they kind of learn, not to do that thing again. They don't like being taught the lesson, but they'll actually learn something from it. And more importantly is that they actually deserve they're the ones who deserve all that shit.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who instigated it in the first place. It's their rules, not ours.
Yeah, you can't really win against them if you refuse to make them play by their own rules. You don't necessarily have to play by their rules, but if you don't make them play by their own rules, you just hand over the frame of the argument to them.
And it's a little, unfortunately, it's now a culture war. It's not just an internet argument or any shit like that. They have literally turned this into a fucking...
Yeah, mostly because they want to.
They will not back down until one side or the other is destroyed.
The freedoms essential to actually making a healthy comics industry are pretty much what they have. They're not only trying to destroy it, but they've pretty much done the work of destroying that already. The main reason why Move the Needle won't work is because it's just telling the same superhero comics fans to buy the same superhero comics that they were already buying. It's really not going to make any difference because it's just like, oh, we should buy, Spider-Man and Batman. It's like they were already buying Spider-Man and Batman. So the difference in sales is going to be negligible, except for, I think more of them are buying just a bunch more copies.
They're buying. They're definitely. They've always been buying Spider-Man and Batman, but sales have never been worse. And I think the sales are actually continuing to sink for Spider-Man. Yeah, they're just getting worse and worse.
And so Move the Needle really isn't going to make any difference because these are the people who are still already buying it. So it's like if I'm buying if I'm buying Superman and then I'm like, oh, now I'm going to move the needle for Superman. It's not any more sales. It's the same amount of sales because I was still buying in the first place. So it's not going to make any difference. It's not. For other people, it might make somewhat of a difference because they're going to go out and buy, instead of buying the usual amount of Superman, they'll buy just extra copies to be like, I'm moving the needle. And it's like, okay, great, but still, you're just buying more superhero comics. All you're going to do is just boost some superhero shit.
What they're really doing, the real problem with what they're doing is they're touching the poop. It's like the...
Well, there's that. Like that's a different topic. That's really a different topic. But yeah, it's
an entire movement to touch the poop together. Let's get E. coli all over all of our hands.
They're not even doing a good job of it, though. Like, if you're really going to do it, what you want to do is fucking drive the fucking social justice people crazy. I don't even want to call them social justice people. I mean, there's better names to call them. Like, just dipshit, fucking loser. I don't know. There's so many words. There's so many words that would be...
Call them cucks.
You can
when cuck or soy boys. When cuck doesn't quite cut it.
When cuck just won't do. But, they might... But
the key thing is, though, that they're going to take this money, this sales bump that he's creating, and they're going to fund more shit.
Yeah, they're going to just be like, oh, thanks for the money, suckers. Now here's this complete fucking psycho. We're going to use this to pay their salary for this complete dog shit fucking moronic book. We're going to fucking use it to pay Brian Michael Bendis to write Superman. Wow, good job, Move the Needle. Faggots. Oh, oops, I roasted them. Is it bad to roast?
Hopefully roast them, literally flame broil them.
Flay their skin off, flame broil them.
Flay their skin, salt the wound.
Ruin their lives, wreck their lives. But, they may buy more of the comics that they were buying, equating a sales bump, but it's going to be an empty sales bump of, the same old superhero shit. Essentially, it's going to be the Orange Man effect. I'll get into that in a few seconds.
Superhero shit, a.k.a. Cape.
Cape? Shit. There's one of our 10 viewers who really likes it when we say Cape. Shit. I think it might actually be 2 viewers or followers.
Leaning into that shit.
We lean into that shit. But anyways, yeah. So Move the Needle isn't trying to promote any unique comics that can use a legit sales bump. They're just promoting the same old superhero.
Yeah, like legitimately, he could go out and be like, here's fucking My Hero Academia or Berserk. Like, check out these back issues. Go back to
those aren't hurting. You know what about manga?
4 or 5. Yeah,
Manga's not hurting. Manga's
But
not
you could
hurting, so
also
it doesn't
you
need a
could
sales
also be
bump. That
like,
doesn't need move the
you could
needle.
also look at it and be like, here's the sales for this month, here's the sales for the next month. This is the change we did. Here's how many sales Marvel could have if they made actually good shit. If they stopped making insulting shit, insulting, spitting in the face of their own fan base. If they stopped doing that,
Well,
here's what they could have.
what they want, these move the needle people want, is for Marvel and DC to go back to spitting in their face in the old way instead of the current way. They're like, oh, we liked it when you spit in our face in this way. That was dope. And it's
We
like,
liked
oh,
when you were
okay.
pissing in your rice bowl, cocksucker. When you're fucking giving us like the shit from the dark ages of comics, so called because comics really really sucked back then.
Oh, but I heard that they used to sell 1 million per issue. Don't you know that X-Men #1 from the '90s sold 1 million per issue? It
Yeah, I
sold
guess
a
that's all we
million
want.
copies.
That's all we want from our comics is just keep producing shit, but let's have them sell well as they produce.
Treat it like a fucking treat it like a poster. Basically, I put it up on my wall. Yeah, you're supposed to read them. It's not important.
That was the other thing about that article by Chuck Dixon, I think, where he talked about they'd read the comic books and just throw them in the trash
Yeah, I
because
was
it's like a
I was gonna get
periodical.
into that in a little bit, but yeah, that's a good point too. It's a very
It
good
was
point.
thrown in the trash, but not with disrespect. It was something that you bought on a regular basis, and sales had never been better at that time,
Yeah,
back in like the 50s and
yeah,
60s.
the same way that you would read like a magazine, like a Time magazine or a TV guide or something, and throw that in the trash once you were done with it, or once the new issue came out. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make space now for on my table
And
or
if you
something.
were a real fanatic or hoarder, you would actually try and hold on to them.
Yeah, the same way people would hold on to old copies of TV Guide. And it was seen pretty much identically to that back in the 60s and 70s. And then into the 80s and 90s, it wasn't seen as that because the storylines were continuous. So it's like, oh, you need that. And then the speculator market validated it further, but it's not really valid. The,
It's invalid, kind of like their medium.
the fucking kind of like the stumpy legs of diversity in comics. He's an invalid mentally. Oh wait, that's the roasting's going a little too far. I'll admit. But yeah. So Move the Needle isn't trying to promote any unique comics that can use a legit sales bump. Is one of the other main points of this is that they're going for just the same old shit that is not really going to show a sales bump. If you want, find a comic that there's lots of comics out there that aren't selling well, that are legitimately good, that aren't social justice at all, not even pushing a little bit of a social justice agenda. Their creators are not saying social justice shit.
Social just shit.
Yes, they're on the Twitter, they're not doing any of that shit. They could use sales. There's a lot of them in the I guess you big two, big three. I guess not really in the big two, but you could
You know
say
what
the
he
big
should
four.
do? Fucking Move the Needle, but for like Orkstain over Comixology. Oh no, wait. They'd have to. Well, first off, apparently they don't even follow sales figures on Comixology, which is like a damn shame.
Yeah, I'm not
You have
sure. I'm
no
not
idea
sure if
what
those
they're even selling.
digital sales don't seem to actually be visible, which is a little weird.
It's a little suspicious.
Yeah, it's suspicious, and if you were going to be against digital comics for any reason, that would be a good one. But aside from that, there are no good reasons, and I've seen a lot of reasons, and they were all incredibly stupid, and they mostly come from Diversity in Comics and his followers, who are pretty much fucking dolts. I mean, hey, hate to get
Unfortunately,
too
they have all the
roasty.
fucking power. They're the ones who have all the fucking actual like muscle.
Yeah, they're acting like they're the only ones paying attention, but they don't really have any good ideas. This is proof. Move the Needle really isn't a good idea. It falls apart under its own premise, and that, of course, this is part of the reason why is because they're not really trying to move the needle on anything that worthwhile. Some of the stuff I'll give it, like Mr. Miracle, fine. Batman White Knight, fine. I'm not even reading them myself. Thing is,
Again, though, more Batman. More Batman.
Yeah,
We've got
exactly. It's just more
enough
Batman.
of Batman.
It's like there's stuff out there other than Batman and superhero comics. In fact, there's a lot of other people in the whole comics area, Comics Gate, Comics YouTube, and then of course people like us who have been talking about this for years, and only now people act like they're paying attention, but not to the people who've been saying it first and better, like us. But all of a sudden, people are saying, "Hey, there's comics other than Marvel and superhero shit." And it's like, yeah, there's manga, which is actually just straight up doing comics better, and it gets really embarrassing to watch diversity in comics continue to dance around the fact that probably the best superhero comic on the market right now is either My Hero Academia or One Punch Man, which I started reading again. I started reading One Punch Man again recently, and
catching up with OPM.
yeah, and it's still better than fucking most other. Although I will give
no shit.
Batman White Knight something is that it's really trying something new, and that's something that manga can't deliver. And if we ever review Batman White Knight, I would do that.
Did
but
you send me pages of Batman White Knight or something?
I sent you the first issue, yeah.
Okay, I still haven't read it.
Well, I kind of would prefer to read the whole story in completion.
Yeah, that's what I prefer. That's another thing, another huge positive of manga is that I can read the whole thing and then decide later, okay, I want to give this money.
Or you can
instead
binge
of having
it.
To be like, ugh.
You can binge it easier because they're usually sold in volumes. I think they're
Yeah.
actually called like Tankuban or some shit like that is the Japanese equivalent of a trade paperback that just collects a bunch of issues all at once into a nice big arc or a
fact,
portion of an arc.
I was just reading recently, it was like a year, apparently Dungeoneering Princess Prina just got a Tankuban release. It's like, oh great, and it's like 200 pages or something
of elf rape.
Well, she's not an elf, but she's just
rape.
the princess in the kingdom, and she goes to meet the lewd fucking demons that live in the abyssal cathedral in the labyrinth that's underneath her palace.
I don't suppose they play chess at each other to sort out their problems.
I guess you could call it like a chess game, except with lots of dicks, lots of demon cocks.
Slapping her across the eyes.
And it's very degrading. Extremely insulting.
Well, that's the bare minimum,
as
though.
A character.
I'd expect that at this point. But that certainly sounds like better.
I do more than expect it. I demand it.
Yes, that certainly sounds better than any Marvel comic published in the past
50
years.
That's another reason why Marvel sucks.
That's a reason why Marvel sucks. They won't do that with Squirrel Girl. You're not going to open up Squirrel Girl and... First of all, you're not going to open up Squirrel Girl and be surprised by anything, but you're also not going to open up Squirrel Girl and have her just being fucking quadruple penetrated. Even her ears are being fucked.
Spit roasted. You're not going to open up an issue of Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel and see her becoming ass pregnant with a trillion beautiful demon babies.
Or spiderling demon babies. You're not gonna see the spit roasting of a roasty. But yes, so that's another reason why Move the Needle sucks, because it's not promoting comics like that you just described.
Like Prina Dungeoneering Princess or something like Drill Jill Sperm Star, which is where the cute schoolgirl cat girl goes to a school for magical girls or some shit.
Oh, that sounds charming.
And they just absolutely degrade her, and she is forced to engage in some light Riona while she's getting pegged in the turlet.
Oh, that sounds charming. That still sounds charming. It sounds like a Little Witch Academia, except more interesting.
It's a little more adult than Witch Hero Academia, whatever the fuck.
My Witch Little Academia Hero. Who cares? They're all the same shit anymore.
Whatever the fuck.
Stupid manga
the
shit.
Same thing happens. They're the same thing. Either way.
They might as well be the same thing. They're all the same shit.
Just put fucking everything, and everyone's saying fucking shit everywhere. It's the same thing.
Motherfucking shit. Ass fuck shit.
Man single-handedly ruined the word motherfucker. How do you even do that? How do you fuck that up?
Reference to that classic, wonderful movie, but yeah, you know there are American comics though out there. You know, I would say Stray Bullets is a comic that can really use some help. I would fucking move the needle for that, but that's the only comic
Oh,
that I
but it's not
buy.
cape shit. That's not cape
Yeah, it's not
shit.
cape shit, so really none of them care, and none of them like a Pigman is another comic that is like, hey, you should do move the needle, you should promote this for move the needle. Hey, if you like this, even Diversity in Comics can at least say, I don't like this, but here's an independent creator who could use some help in sales and make sure you hit move the needle so we can show, hey, his sales are going up. He's making some sales. No, fucking move the needle. There's nothing for that. There's no fucking, there's no demand for it. It's just focusing on the same superhero shit. So I'm not impressed. You want to impress me? Take the wheel for a little while. But yeah,
Take
so
the
it's
wheel
just
for a
more
while.
promoting of more superhero comics. And as we have proven before in previous videos, people who only like superhero comics don't really like comics because all comics aren't superheroes and superheroes aren't all comics. So what do you think about that, cocksucker? But also, as I was talking about, the Orange Man effect, which is yet another thing that the whole Comicsgate move the needle crowd is completely unaware of. They act like they've never heard of it. It's it's as if somebody was sharing knowledge about the inside workings of the comics industry for years. In fact, let me pull up this post right here and look at the date. I don't know how well this is going to show up. It's probably not going to show up. Well, oh, it shows up actually pretty well if I fucking zoom in on it. But here it says the date on it is fucking 3/5/15 is when this was posted. This was posted in early 2015. So I think
So
this
that's
was,
way before Diversity in Comics even thought of doing videos.
yeah, I think this is before any of those fucking people in Comics
Any
Gate,
of those crappy people.
any of those crappy people could ever help to achieve. But the picture here, oh no, it's just someone adorable. The fucking chin pubes. I don't know why Sissy Weeb drew the chin pubes. I photoshopped those out. I mean, whoever contains possession of this picture photoshopped them out for it to be more accurate of the Adora Kwai OC here. And the fucking and this is big dumb faggots OC taunting him with the dog treats. This is adorable. And that's I'm just describing the picture that goes with the post. But the post is basically autopsy of a comic book movie sales bump. This is from 2015, and this is pretty much the effect that Moving to the Needle is going to have right now, except this is in reference to, and this is also like other people started saying later about, I think Diversity in Comics even did a video about how a superhero movie comes out and people go to the comic store to buy the comic about that character and then they see it and it sucks. And this was, again, this post was in 2015, years before Diversity in Comics did these videos, years before I think even Captain Cummings, at least a year or two before Captain Cummings started doing comic book videos. And it's like, all this time, somebody else, other people were there saying this shit, and it was fucking ignored. But here, the whole situation starts with half brain dead, retarded hack faggot who couldn't make it as a writer in other medium comes up with Orange Man as a superhero who has the power of oranges. Kids buy it for a nickel. Sales eventually drop as years pass. Comic disappears. Comes back during speculator boom. Disappears again when the bubble pops. And there's that. The comic company sells the rights to the character, as usual. And then a person with actual talent writes a legitimately interesting, funny, entertaining Orange Man script. Basically, think like Iron Man. The movie's made for a moderate budget, which is pretty entertaining, actual sense of adventure and fun. It's written and directed by people who are actually made legitimately great and somewhat even subversive movies in the past, like say Swingers or Made. Boy, that's a great fucking movie.
Or fucking like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, there's that, or fucking the Last Boy Scout, or Lethal Weapon,
Or
perhaps.
what we do in the dark.
That is a good movie. Yeah, see, again, wow, how many great points. How many fucking great points are fucking unpacked into just like 2 sentences of this one post? Meanwhile, you listen to Diversity in Comics, and he'll spend 20 minutes going over like a 1 sentence idea. Pathetic. Oh, that's actually kind of inappropriate,
Cathartic.
even though it's true. But anyways, yeah. So the movie essentially just rewrites the whole Orange Man character and universe. Doesn't stay true to the dumb source material, except by reusing the names. Usually, just having to make fun of the stupid names, like what Leonard Snart. But yeah, making fun of the stupid names, or just ignoring the names outright by using the characters' real names instead of constantly referring
Personally, I
to the
think
heroes of
Leonard
Orange Man.
Snart is at least Leonard Snart is not more alliteration.
Yeah, yes. Which so that was one of the first red flags that I had, that Diversity in Comics was a fucking dope. He's not so dope. He's just dope.
His complaint about fucking Riri Williams is like, it's not alliteration. That's not a Marvel comic book
Yeah, that's
character
not a
name.
superhero name. They gotta have the same letter. And it's like, that's fucking dumb. That's stupid. That doesn't matter. You're
She's
fucking.
got a stupid name.
There are,
She has a
yes,
stupid name.
but
I don't argue that
there
she has
are
a stupid
way
name.
way bigger problems in comics, and you're focusing on just the fucking name of a character. That's fucking stupid. He's stupid. Anyways,
He's a retard.
he's a retard.
This fool. This
This
goddamn
goddamn
fool.
fool. But yeah, so it's instead of constantly referring to the hero as Orange Man, they just call him Rick most of the time. Was it with Ricks?
What was it with Rex?
Ricks. You're in this too.
Oh,
Oh.
fuck you, Rick
Oh
Berman.
yeah, one of my favorite parts of this post: female character gets punched in the mouth in the movie, and then
Haha.
audience's intelligence isn't insulted by the movie, as opposed
Oh
to a lot
shit.
of the old superhero movies. And then the movie makes money back plus profit, and then the kid enjoys the Orange Man movie, and he's like, I want to read the comic. So the parent takes the kid to a comic store to buy the Orange Man comic. Orange Man comic is now the same low grade fanfic, unreadable cheese dick, stupid, retarded shit that all superhero comics are. Let's face it. Let's not fucking fool ourselves here. Let's not act like, oh, it's a very. No, it's pretty stupid. Yeah, you can find some good superhero shit, but let's face it. We have to be honest with. You're not going to fucking make any positive change in the industry unless you're going to be honest. And Comicsgate and Move the Needle really has a major allergy to honesty. Not as much as social justice, but still an allergy to honesty all the fucking same. And Orange Man fires an orange from his wrist rocket orange shooters at the bad guy. Bad guy takes selfie of himself getting hit with the orange. Orange Man says, bet that got you right in the feels. Which is literally how fucking superhero comics are written like that, and Diversity in Comics will read that and be like, oh, that's bad. And then he'll say, if you buy this comic, make sure to hashtag move the needle with it. It's like, get fucked. I'll zoom in a little more. I don't have to, but still. Anyways, Orange Man goes home after fight, looks sadly at a photo of his dead daughter from a story arc from 1992. Oh, that was a dope era of comics. That's still being used in
That was
continuity.
dope.
Dope. Don't drink
What's that?
Pepsi, always Coke. You got the right one, baby.
That's
Dope.
right.
Dope.
Dope.
Oh, that was an old fucking reference. Remember that parody song from 1991? That was a parody of fucking. What was it? Wasn't
Brilliant.
it MC Hammer?
Brilliant.
Ugh.
Yes.
Anyways, Prune Man spies on Orange Man and laughs at Orange Man's sorrow as he secretly plots to undermine Obama's new healthcare. But who? Oh, that's right. He used to be president. New healthcare plan to discredit the president, and for Prune Man to get himself elected in Obama's place, where he will force everyone to include prunes in their diet or be withered like a raisin with his new Wither Ray. Again, this was written in 2015, before fucking any of these dopes were fucking saying anything about how comics were bad. No one else was really saying that superhero comics were bad except for this person writing this post. And then everyone is like, no, superhero comics were good. And then in 2017, all of a sudden it's like, oh, superhero comics are bad now. And it's like, yeah, well, welcome to the party, pal. Anyways.
That's one thing that you can always usually tell with like fucking, especially with like feminists when they complain about
TVJ.
something they don't like. TVJ. When they complain about something in a comic, they're like, oh, this is sexism, this is oppression. Like I remember, I forget what it was.
Escher Girls.
It was like one of the Xeno Saga games, and they're like, "Oh, this sucks." And it's like, "Yes, it does suck." And then the girl's like, "This girl is dressed like a fucking
she has a short skirt,
piece of meat. She's dressed like a piece of meat." And these are the same people who want to take control of the word slut or something.
It's like, well, you are a piece. Stop being a piece of meat. If you don't want them to be portrayed as one, stop being one in real life. We demand three-dimensional characters in fiction, but we can't even get three-dimensional characters in real life.
Fucking
even real one-dimensional in real fucking life.
Even 3D pigs aren't actually. They're less realistic.
Their personalities aren't 3D. They may be 3D pigs, but their personalities aren't 3D. Their personalities are not even 2D, in fact. Especially social justice.
Not even checkers. It's not even. They're not even playing 4D chess, let alone chess.
They're not even playing 3D chess.
Checkers.
They're bad. They are dumb. But anyways, what was this? Oh, a scene of pro-Prune Man protesters gathering signs that say "Gods hate citrus" and "Obama must be withered." Tea bags against orange tea. And then
which is literally that. Those are literally references.
Those are things that happen.
They've actually done in comics.
Yeah, which is that's kind of the point of this.
In comics.
This is kind of the point of this post.
And that's also those are the comics that Diversity in Comics wants you to pay money for.
Yeah.
Just to prove that he can get a comic sales bump.
Yeah, same creators, same industry, same characters, same everything, pretty much down to the letter.
But most especially same ideology, same fucking insulting of the audience.
Yes.
It's a middle finger.
Identical degrees.
It's a middle finger to the face of everyone in the audience.
This part is also pertinent. Female character from the movie appears in comic and punches the guy in the face that punched her in the movie. She says, "I bet that rustled your jimmies." And then
because Diversity in Comics loves memes.
Yeah, Diversity in Comics would read that and be like, "Oh, that's pretty dope," because he loves memes.
That's a great. You talk continuously about how that's a great line.
Yes. Be like, "Oh, that was such great writing." It's like, no, it wasn't. It's maybe compared to fucking social justice comics, but if that's up to your standard, then get fucked. But so yeah, Kid drops the comic after one issue like a fucking grenade. The bump in sales still permits Orange Man comic to continue for the next couple of years anyway. Kid doesn't buy any more comics at all, period. Just sticks to video games and movies.
They really wring the juice out of these comics.
Yes, they either stick to video games and movies or also manga, which doesn't do any of this dumbass shit. At least not to the same degree. Well, not even close to the same degree. But anyways, the comic is mostly bought up by 30-year-old fat faggot losers with no taste who spend all day arguing on Cuck-chan about the Orange Man continuity and how the movie ruined it, which is pretty much... That's almost where fucking a lot of the Comicsgate YouTubers come from, too. Not from 4chan specifically or any of the chans, but pretty much the same community of comics readers, that same level of comics readers. So that's what the Orange Man effect is that sales bump that Move the Needle's basically going to amount to. And the next post I was going to mention, more proof that healthy cape shit doesn't mean a healthy comics industry, in the recent post by Chuck Dixon called Comics for Dummies, which we have previously read through in a video. You can go fucking find it on the channel. I Although I don't think it's called Comics. You know what? I don't know how you'll find it on the channel. Just go watch all the videos on the channel. But it's really interesting. A really interesting post. You don't have to even um, listen to our video. Just go read the post by Chuck Dixon because it's fascinating because it analyzes how superhero comics in the '60s caused an initial sales downfall before the speculator market ever happened. And here's just one paragraph from that post. It's on thefreedomforge.com, and if you just Google that or something, I don't give a shit. Go find it on your own, motherfucker. But um, here's an example from the post. It says books like DC's Warline and Jonah Hex were practically carrying the company on their back, while books with dismal sales like Green Lantern, Green Arrow were lauded by the fan base as the way to go. At Marvel, Conan, Mighty Marvel Western, and their horror titles were generating stronger sales than Spider-Man and the Avengers, but those books weren't what fans wanted, even if casual readers enjoyed them. Notice the difference. The casual readers aren't the fans of superheroes in the comics industry. The casual readers were the ones who were just reading sort of more normal stuff. And that's kind of how it is, and that's where the readership has really gone even today in comics. They're reading stuff that has a giant broader scope than fucking superhero comics. And the genres, the scope of the genres, the selection of genres, sports comics, cooking comics. Fucking, if you watch Just Some Guys videos, if you go watch his videos about manga and My Hero Academia and that kind of shit. He did a video after ours, of course. Do I have to point that out?
Of course.
But he did a video about how manga sales are blowing American comic sales out of the fucking stratosphere. And that's because there's so much more selection, there's so much more variety, way more to choose from in comics. And he was pointing out that even a manga about cooking of Food Wars. I think it's called Shokugeki no fuck, I don't fucking
Wasn't
know.
there fucking one about like people who ran trains or something? Or rather, they're high school students who run trains. It's like Train
You mean
Wars or
actual
something like.
literal physical trains, or you mean fucking ass fucking each other one after the other?
Running a train on each other, and all the girls have huge tits and
And
are
huge cocks.
extremely
The girls
cute.
also have huge cocks. That's important.
Girl in quote her in hilarity meme chevrons.
But but wait, you mean they were running like fucking? They're like, hey, I'm operating a train, and that one of the characters is probably a cat that can talk and operates a train on its own.
Something like that. But they're fucking all teenagers. They're all fucking they're all having sex with teenagers. No way. No. But yeah, it was a show, I know that. Train Wars. It was an anime.
Train Wars, was that with a Z though?
No, because that would be gay.
Oh.
That sounds like something cape shit would do. It sounds like something 90s cape shit would do.
We got to point out there always are exceptions, and one of the exceptions I would say to even that rule though is Existence. But that was a movie. But that's actually my favorite Cronenberg movie of all time is Existence. And that one, in a way, that's kind of like, I won't say cheesy, but that's a kind of a more pulpy movie as opposed to like Videodrome or fucking
It's a bit more
Videodrome's a
fun
great
and
movie
less
too.
depressing than Videodrome, that's for damn sure. Videodrome is really kind of depressing.
I really like Videodrome a lot though.
Yeah, I do.
But
I
yes,
do. I do. James Woods is great in it when he
yes.
screams at the woman to get the fuck out.
And then he puts a gun inside of his stomach vagina. That's fucking great. I actually really like the ending to Videodrome. It was incredibly depressing too, though. Scanners is actually a legitimately
It's
good
something
movie
you
too.
can't really do in movies anymore. So just an unbelievable downer ending. It's just also it's very nihilistic.
Well, It Comes at Night had a massively downer ending, but then in the theater, I actually saw it in the theater. You're the one who went out. You walked
Well,
out to go see Wonder
that was
Woman.
not a big, yeah, that was not a big, yeah, that's exactly it. That is the difference between the kind of audiences both of those movies are made for.
Yes.
It Comes at Night, isn't that the movie about the bat people who turn into bats?
No, no,
Just
that's
a
It
bat life.
Lives by Night,
Oh,
which is a good movie too. Well,
I
actually, no,
left
it's
after the
not.
first jump scare. They tried to get you with a jump scare, and it's like,
Yeah.
fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. I'm
I
gonna go
mean that
watch
I thought the movie was still
fucking
good,
Wonder
but
Woman.
it's one of the most depressing, like way past Videodrome, way fucking past Videodrome. But
At least you can kind of pretend that maybe at the end of Videodrome, Videodrome might be a good thing for the world and human race.
or
Maybe it's best. Maybe it's best if we all get taken over by a TV signal that turns us into assassins.
hallucinating assassins, yeah, which is actually almost feasible. It's weird because like it's sort of like fuck with your mind stuff, but it's like actually if a TV like sound signals can be used to like uh well the absence of sound can actually be used to make you hallucinate. So maybe if they could find some kind of video or sound signal that can actually make you start hallucinating too. It's a great premise for a movie, executed extremely well in Videodrome. Um, we got way off topic, which is a good thing. The point ultimately was about how superhero comics weren't what really the masses wanted in comics, and then comics went to just all super. But again, you can hear us talk about that for like an hour or maybe more. I don't even remember how long that video is. Ridiculously, like offensively long about our reading of the Chuck Dixon post, but it's extremely pertinent about this topic. And it's also something that we've been saying for years. So I don't want to, I'll give Chuck Dixon the respect of saying that Chuck Dixon isn't just ripping us off. Even if he was. Chuck Dixon, you're a derivative of us, you fucking cocksucker who created
You're
Bane.
welcome, Chuck.
You're
Chuck
welcome,
Dixon.
Chuck Dixon.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. I like Chuck Dixon, actually.
We're necessary evil.
I don't know. Are we going to go back to Bane posting?
Yes.
It's just not gonna fucking. We need
Everything's Bane.
fucking Forge better be on again soon. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be on again soon, and it's like, then all of a sudden he's not even replying on fucking Twitter. Forge, you better fucking get your shit together.
Vanishes
Or we'll
up the
fuck you
asshole.
up.
He vanishes up the asshole of a wolf.
You'll be
or
standing
something.
tall before the man, before the werewolf man. But anyways, the next point that I wrote down in my notes on my my TXT file for things to talk about on our stupid fucking YouTube videos is
patrician text files.
We have the most patrician text files, believe me. But the next point is that Move the Needle, Comicsgate, whatever the fuck, they're not able to accept the damage that the Speculator bubble did. Fucking listen to Diversity in Comics. I've been listening to his videos for an embarrassing long amount of time. Because, basically because he started saying all the stuff that we've been saying for years. It's like, oh, finally, somebody else is saying it. And what gets a little irritating is that people act like he's the first one to say it after we've been saying it for years. Let me just take this time to gloat again continuously. Derivative in comics is fucking just an inferior version of shitty webcomics which goes back to 2011, I think. So it's not even something from a couple years ago. It's something from at least 5 years ago plus. In fact, I've seen him do videos recently about how the angles are all flat on Marvel Comics, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty much identical to a post me, you, and Cool Mod all were saying in tandem and wrote several posts on shitty webcomics about questionable content and how webcomics are fucking and shitty webcomics was not just about webcomics. It was about pretty much everything, whatever the fuck we wanted to be about. But especially about webcomics, we would pick apart the angles and how flat they were all the time and how it made the comic inferior. Not just more boring, but an inferior work to not just cape shit, but to even other fucking webcomics. But yeah, here's another thing that the whole Move the Needle, the recent Comicsgate thing can't accept or admit to is that the speculator bubble did tremendous damage to the industry. Not being able to accept that superhero sales were in a free fall before social justice, and that's the social justice is not a recent thing. And they've only realized after it's too late to stop
the reason why they got to take over in the first place.
Yeah, because the sales were already so weak.
Sick. It was so near death already that they were able to just take it over, just move in, step in, and infest it like a rotting house, just like termites.
Another note, just like almost free-floating, like free-floating hostility by George Cullen, but there's just a free-floating note here that just says, saving comics with cape shit is like saving music by bringing back Korn and Papa Roach. And I could go on, we could go on for hours and hours about the behavior we have personally witnessed from, like, Comicsgate Cape Cuck cupcakes. Nailed it. But the Cape Cuck cupcakes.
OMG. Fucking
nailed it. Nerd. Brute shot nerdalardo. But the behavior we have witnessed from, you know, in Comicsgate, in fucking the superhero fandom community, whatever the fuck you even want to call it, from just the hostility they have of anyone with ideas saying, hey, superheroes are not going to save your fucking shit. And they're like, how can you say that? And they just get so fucking whiny. They get very effeminately whiny about it. And they have for years. We're not talking about recently. We're talking about going back years. I'm like one of the first people to even get banned from CO because I said that comic book writing is equivalent to fucking fanfics, and you won't believe, like, if you thought people get mad on 4chan about anything these days, you haven't fucking seen anything until you've seen that reply, which you can't, of course, because it's like almost 10 years old at this point. It was literally a few days after CO was made. It was like one of the first posts, probably. Not one of the first posts. It's not like it's going to be in the top, in the first 100 or anything, but it was at least within the first 1,000 or so. And I was even coming up and being like, hey, here's some comics I used to like, but comics are mostly fanfics with drawings. And someone got so fucking pissed, and then they started mass reporting me.
It just goes to show how weak they are.
Yeah, and the thread got deleted early before before it even had a chance to expire, which is not the first or last time that's ever happened to me on 4chan, of course. And this is back again about the time CO was even made. So I don't even know if that's 10 years or not. I don't fucking know. But
that's how ahead of the game we are.
Yes,
and how
we're
behind
so far ahead of the game, way ahead of the curve. Because we're not monsters. But celebrating comics from 10 years ago simply because they're better than right now is another fucking stupid tactic that Move the Needle, Comicsgate, whatever, is completely cucked by. 10 years ago, comics weren't really that good. They're simply better than the current nadir. That's it. And again, I'm not impressed. If you say, oh, comics 10 years ago were so much better, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure they were, but so the fuck what? You gotta do better than that. And you're not gonna bring back the people who have left from manga by reverting comics back to 10 years ago. You're
also not going to get them back by making your own manga. Like a Marvel manga.
Yeah, they tried that.
The fuck it is they're trying to make.
They're gonna try it again, and a lot of indie comics people are trying that shit too, and it doesn't work because most of them are just aping the style.
They're going to accuse them of being fucking
cultural appropriation.
Cultural appropriation. Oh, how dare you use a Japanese name when you make your manga?
Yeah,
your fan manga.
Really,
it's like fan manga.
And if you're gonna make your manga, you can't do it with like attempting with zero irony, and you can't do it with like wide-eyed hopefulism. And you can't do it with just being like, I'm going to make the next Akira, and then you just end up making the next fucking... I don't know. I don't even know fucking good comparisons. But, here's fucking Move the Needle will most likely resent nothing more than the Nectarines Man effect. This is... I already read over this. What's going on? I basically rewrote a point that I wrote earlier. So I just want to make sure none of this is too redundant. But here's the essentially, well, here's how that note ends: is you can't save a dying industry by reverting away from the current environment, only by evolving into it and moving further on. Which leads to the final point: is that the whole refusal to accept the digital market. Too many cupcakes behave as if they're terrified of the mere existence of digital market. And again, you can't tell me that they're not when I've already seen them fucking behave that way, from Diversity in Comics to, you know, like even Captain Comics and a bunch of the other guys and a bunch of their fans on. I've seen like comments on their videos
They really are.
talking about
They're
how
so
much they
behind the
hate digital
times.
comics. They fucking
They're
just hate
finished.
it.
They're done with it if that's the way they really feel about
and
this
they've been
shit.
finished, and that's why social justice was able to just steamroll right in without any resistance, is because a lot of these people are just fucking delusional about their own industry that they claim to want to save. You want to save things, but you don't want them to change. They want them to revert. You want fried ice, and you want fucking Cardassia to go back to its old ways. It's not going to. That Cardassia is dead, and it's not coming back. But the other point, yeah, Diversity in Comics, as repeatedly said, he hates digital comics. He's starting to be, I think he's starting to get ass fucked hard on that, and he's starting to soften up and sort of cuck himself out and be like, I've seen him only very recently start to accept that if some people might buy digital comics. It's a very tepid, non-committal kind of acceptance, but he's starting to do it, I think, because a lot of people, including me, have told him what a dumb faggot he is about it. But yeah, we've seen several of his comments, his fans comment regularly about how they can't stand digital comics, they hate digital comics. I still see people do it. Just today, somebody commented on one of my comments saying that comics are a physical medium. This is how stupid some of these fucking Comicsgate people are. Some of these Move the Needle people are. They're actually saying that comics are a physical medium. No, stupid. That's how dumb these people are. You're not going to save that. This is why Move the Needle is just going to fail. I didn't want to be so harsh on it, but Move the
It's the
Needle's
only
going to
medium
fail,
that's
and this is why.
It's the only medium that's even like that now. Music has moved on, movies have moved on, TV has moved on,
Comics have moved on.
video games have
Comics
moved
have
on.
moved on.
Yes.
Comics have already moved on. The biggest fucking comics market right now is digitally, and I'm not talking. It's mostly web comics, but also a lot of people reading them through like Shonen Jump. Does its weekly every week when it comes out with a new Shonen Jump in Japan, it'll come out with an American translation that you can subscribe to digitally, which is just about the only way you can read it because they don't have to ship it. They don't have to spend money on fresh printings for a new translation, fresh ink, fresh paper, which the cost of paper is going up. And I fucking found that out on the Cerebus fucking channel. The fucking Dave Sims channel. He's talking about how the cost of paper is going way up. So the cost of actually printing like large print comics is almost not even worth it. If you're small press, it's actually not worth it. It's only worth it if you already work for like the big two or an established comics publisher. Otherwise, it's not actually worth it to pay for your own paper, and you would have to charge like fucking $6 or $7 per issue, or that equivalent. I think it's really the cost of like one of the phone books or the trade paperbacks for a small print or independent, and not even independent but self-published comic.
So basically, what you're saying is that these people who claim they want to bring comics back are trying to force it so that comics are more difficult to make.
Exactly, yes. And that's, again, why Move the Needle. If that's the tactics of Move the Needle, it's not going to work. Now, as far
Either
as
these people want to sabotage comics, or they're that dumb.
it's like, how's the saying go? Don't ascribe to fucking malice.
Or can be easily explained by stupidity.
Yes. And that's pretty much how.
And in this case, having
in.
listened to so many of Diversity in Comics videos, it's pretty easy to believe that he's just that stupid.
There's certainly no malice. It, unfortunately, is the other option, though. And here's the thing: there's other avenues, there's other settings. Like Alterna Comics is actually printing comics that are trying to go on like newsstand shelves and fucking like at the Toys R Us by the register. I would love to see comics sold at the magazine racks at registers at supermarkets and that kind of shit. I'd love that. but you probably can't
I
exactly
probably
do.
won't buy them, but
Yeah, well, you know what? I might actually buy if I saw Alterna Comics like next to the
certainly be
Star magazine.
easier.
I'd buy one actually for $1, especially for $1.50. They're charging $1.50 from. I think that's fucking great. I fully agree. I actually fully agree with Diversity in Comics when he says for $1.50 you can't really go wrong. It's a price of like 2 candy bars or something. There's almost no reason not to if you saw that in front of you while you're at the supermarket already. It's like I might as well spend $1.50 to get this comic, especially if it's to promote alternate comic. I know for a fact that fucking we may be sick fucking trolling assholes, but Peter Samedi, I know, you know, to some degree. I don't know him personally, but he's a pretty decent guy. He's a cool guy, and he's putting his money where his mouth is as far as actually trying to make print comics, making comeback in a good way, because he's publishing and promoting independent comics that are not just more superhero shit. A lot of them are unique genres. There's fucking Western comics and fucking zombie comics and all that kind of shit. There's a lot of different genres available in Alterna Comics, and I would like to buy them. I haven't even gone to the comic store in a long time though, and I haven't even bought comics on Comixology. We've been really short on money lately, but we also can call it like we see it. Now, if I go fucking get some good money in soon, if I go to the comic shop and I see some alternate comics, I'll fucking buy them. If I see them in the fucking bargain bin, I'll buy them. If I see them up on the shelves, I'll buy them. In fact, I want to actually buy that giant phone book. When I get the tax refund, I want to buy that. I want to go into the comic store and buy the giant phone book of Stray Bullets. The fucking 40 issues combination of Stray Bullets. It's like, that's mine. One day, that will be mine, motherfucker. But I mean, you know, that's the approach in Comicsgate and Move the Needle isn't this. It's just like, oh, buy the same old crap from the companies that have been insulting you. He should be reading more alternate comics and promoting them. He barely talks about them though. He's talked about them, but he barely talks about them. Anyways, what's another point though?
He also that's really the thing that is so bothersome is he sees Marvel is harming the industry, and his solution is to bolster Marvel's sales.
Yes. He doesn't understand how the fucking free market works, and that's a whole nother video on its own. But the free market decides, it doesn't say this one company that could be the best or could be the strongest, therefore has to be the strongest in order to save the industry. No. The free market decides whatever. Just whatever is the stuff that people want the most. And right now, the free market is just going away from American comics because American comics don't fucking deliver. DC is delivering some. It's delivering what superhero fans want. But everyone else pretty much has given up on the entire medium, which is really sad. But I think a lot of them could come back, but they're not waiting to come back for superhero comics. But, there's another point, basically about the digital marketplace. The digital marketplace isn't even the future. It's right now. And, so a lot of these people claim that the same comic digitally is somehow worse than the physical version. Against people saying that they hate digital comics and that comics is a physical medium. And if that's like saying music is a physical medium, that's fucking
They have no
stupid.
reason to fucking even
These
hate
people are so stupid. It's not even worth fucking engaging with them, though. It's like, I'm embarrassed for you, and these people have no clue. And if they have no clue, you're not going to bring back the fucking medium. You're not going to fucking bring back the industry. You're not going to do any of that shit. You're just part of the reason why it's already been dying, and you're taking awareness of it. See, here's the thing. Comicsgate had some clever people in it. Or Gamergate. Gamergate had some clever people in it. Comicsgate doesn't. Comic Liberty had some clever people in it. But that was years ago and it died because no one gave a shit. Because, again, the only people who would have been able to give a shit were the stupid people in Comicsgate now. And I hate being that judgmental, but they are fucking dumb. They're fucking dolts. And it is sad because I love comics probably more than Comicsgate does, because I'm not going to be just cucked to just cape shit. I can still like superhero comics, but I like it way more than that. And Comicsgate mostly just like
There's
superhero
nothing.
comics.
There's nothing comics.
There's
There's
superhero
nothing.
comics.
There's nothing inherently special about a superhero comic. Just because it's a superhero comic doesn't make it a better comic. But
But
a lot of
Comicsgate would say that it does.
these comics cucks don't even understand that, and that they are all,
Yeah, they would disagree.
their own industry is dying out.
They
They are the problem.
and they would disagree because they're wrong. They're objectively incorrect. Again, these are the people who are saying shit like comics are a physical medium. Seriously, that was someone said that to me today, and it was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my entire life. But it's also about on par for what a lot of people in Comicsgate are saying, and that's just fucking sad. But anyways, their failure to even accept that the digital marketplace is the future of comics, and it's the exact same as the movie critics who claim that video games are inferior storytelling medium to movies, just as literary critics or stage play critics would say that films are inferior to books or plays, or that music snobs who talk about how listening to music from a vinyl record is better than tape or CD or MP3. Cape cucks are essentially comic snobs, and Chuck Dixon fully agrees with me and you about this.
It's
He's
the
actually
worst
said,
kind of comic snob too, because they're so faggot. They talk like this when you being character. They sound like
actually
literal
talk like that.
retards. They actually sound like that when they talk.
Yeah, Captain Cummings actually kind of does talk like that too. Not exactly like it, but his patter and his mannerisms are similar. It almost like you probably used to talk like
It's
that all
like-
the time, and he kind of
It's
stopped
like
recently.
if fucking Linkara got a speech therapist so that he
Yes.
didn't lisp. Lisping like an absolute quirr.
Fake it. But yeah, Cape Cucks are essentially comic snobs, just as anime fans are cartoon snobs. Fucking anime fans, weebs, are giant snobs too. They're extremely pretentious. But here's the thing: superhero comics fans are also extremely pretentious, and you can't tell me that they're not, because I've already seen the proof that they are, and I have a better sense of perception than Comicsgate. I've seen a lot of Comicsgate just straight up lying about behavior, and hey, they may be on the right side of the comics. Like if I had to choose between Comicsgate, Cape Cucks, and social justice, I would definitely choose the Cape Cucks. But they're not going to save the industry anyways. And I guess if the industry collapses in fucking disaster, I can say I told you so. It's not going to be very good. But I'm going to say that there are a lot of better solutions that have been presented for years that nobody's been listening to at all, and they're still not listening to it. Yeah, a lot of these Cape Cucks are just behaving out of spite that digital comics are already taking over their precious Cape shit. And also, we've gone into previously how the future of comics is digital. We've said that many times, not just in this video. We've been very redundant on that point in this video, but also in previous videos. So that's so redundant. I don't even know how redundant that is anymore. And how physical comics will always exist, but only the same way that vintage vinyl LPs still exist. It's going to just be more of a curiosity among a very extreme niche. And that's not coming soon. That's already now. So that's pretty much why Move the Needle and Comicsgate aren't going to work, because they really don't. It's their medium and they don't understand it, and that's sad. But it's also how they ended up where they are. So
A lot of them, it's kind of like Gamergate. It's like the exact same things that I mentioned that were a problem with Gamergate. Is a lot of the people on the inside are the enemy. They're actually going to harm the movement, because their ideas are what caused it to become necessary in the first place. They are what became necessary in the first place for their own movement to fight.
The poison was already inside a lot of them. And so, yeah, it didn't become Gamergate against the people fucking ruining games. It became Gamergate against a lot of even Gamergate supporters who were like, oh, social justice is actually a good thing, yo. No, it isn't. It never was. Anyways, after this wonderful bit of optimism from us, I should say like, comment, share, subscribe. If you have any questions or insults to put in the comments, go ahead. If you have any things you want us to address, in a future overlong rambling video, go ahead and leave that in the comments. Make sure to donate to our Patreon just for making videos for no... Actually, not even for making videos. Just donate to our Patreon for no reason. Give us fucking money, motherfuckers. Give us money for not saving comics. I mean, I could fucking go on for this for hours and hours, but we have better ideas for comics than anyone else too. I mean, if you thought we were bragging in this video, you ain't heard shit. It's just like the social justice people in comics on Twitter. They thought that diversity in comics is a fucking offensive, homophobic, racist, bigoted, whatever. They haven't seen shit. I mean, if you really want to see transphobia, just wait until Muslim migrants move into your neighborhood. You'll see some fucking Brandon Graham. If you think that diversity in comics and other people are transphobic, just wait until I invite Muslim migrants into your house. You're gonna see some real fucking transphobia then. Anyways,
that'll be enjoyable.
That will be wonderful, and then we'll really see some moving the needle. We'll see some needles being moved into their veins full of bleach.
The only needle I want to see moved into SJW comic pros is into their throats and or eyeballs filled with window cleaner to kill the brain last, so that we can do a brain transplant.
Just like
Let's do it. We're gonna do it on all the black people. It's either like in The Man with Two Brains or with in Get Out.
That's how they did it in Get Out, which was the modern remake of The Man with Two Brains.
And we're gonna transplant all of our brains into black people. Therefore, we no longer have all that white guilt, and we know what it's like to be black.
Or white hookers with giant tits. Don't forget.
Now we can do whatever we want. That was actually that was actually, it was a comedic
Is there
role.
something wrong with my football? What a great movie.
It was a comedic role for a woman who was both attractive and naked. You just again, the 80s. The 80s, you can't do that anymore. You can't see that anymore because she'd be either a comedic actress where she'd be ugly, or she would be unfunny. She would be unfunny. She'd be like,
she couldn't be nude either way. She would not be completely naked either way.
No. And she definitely wouldn't be hot. She would be neither, and she'd also not be funny.
The movie would be denounced as toxic masculinity. It would probably have huge sales, but every review, it would get the lowest score on Rotten Tomatoes due to
that movie in particular. That whole movie is about toxic masculinity. It's about a brain surgeon who is a genuinely good person who's about to get screwed over by a woman who basically sets him up for some frivolous bullshit.
Frivolous rape. Anyways, yeah, it's about how toxic masculinity is actually a good thing, just like it is in real life.
Toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, capitalism, all things that improved society.
Yes. Can't make comics about that. You couldn't make comics about that really ever, but you certainly can't anymore either. But anyways, make sure to like, unlike, relike, and fucking unsubscribe and resubscribe. Unhit the bell for unnotifications, and then unironically donate to our Patreon for no reason and expect nothing in return, because you will get nothing in return, and then go away and then come back for our next video, which will probably just be saying a lot of the same shit we just said in this video, some more.
It needs to be beaten in people's heads, apparently.
Beat them over the head
with a needle, dropping the needle into their skulls through their eye socket.
Move the needle into their eye socket, like in fucking Dead Space 2.
Near the end of Dead Space 2, where he has to do that for some reason I don't even remember.
How long is this video? Holy shit, this video is over an hour long already. Fuck it.